Blake Rennicker's joining us from the stage. So what's going on, man?
Here's my thought on kickers real quick. I saw a thing that said the Chiefs were considering using somebody besides Harrison Butker for kickoffs and only using him for field goals. I saw Justin Tucker's put on like a decent amount of muscle because in the XFL, kickers are involved on tackles in kickoff like 23% of the time or something like that. Do you think there's a chance we carry two kickers because our starting place kicker, who is good at field goals, is old and has hamstring problems, and we might not want him out there making open field tackles against kick returners 23% of the time? So do you think there's a chance Cade York's on the team at the beginning of the year to do kickoffs?
Interesting, man. I hadn't really
100%. I think that's 100% why they signed him, because I don't, you don't, the Browns don't want to see Hopkins go down again. And I did hear about the stat about it being like 20-25% that tackles are going to be done by kickers now because they're the last line of defense. So you'll want either a younger guy, a more athletic guy to be kind of laying the hammer down. And there's even some thought process that you may have a defensive back that used to kick in high school if the game's really on the line, or maybe some other positional group person that has kicked and has some functionality of doing that kind of kick.
I think the Anthony Bell can kick for us. I think he's kicked before, hasn't he?
I don't know if he's like kicked or just been like a last resort fill-in type of guy, but maybe.
So I don't know. I just think there's a chance maybe we don't see Dustin Hopkins on kickoffs. We don't want to see him go down.
I think that's a smart thing to consider. My only question with it would be what roster spot are you giving to roster a secondary special, more specialized kicker?
No, I thought about that. The only thing I can think is like, do you not carry the last wide receiver on your roster or whatever is probably not going to help you. Can you practice squad that guy, use two kickers, and then God forbid one of your kickers goes down, then you promote the wide receiver back up, and then you roll with one kicker until the other guy comes back.
So in the late 90s, they used to, some teams carried two kickers, and I think Bill Belichick was one of them. He would have your long kicker and he would have your field goal kicker, and that was a thing in the late 90s. Nobody does that anymore. I'm sure if you look up one of Barry Shuck's articles, I'm pretty sure I contributed to that article and said that very thing.
So that was my two thoughts when I heard you guys talking about kickers. I don't know if they will, but I think it's probably at least in the back of their mind a little bit. Like, we don't need Dustin Hopkins running down trying to tackle a kick returner in week 13 or 14, as we're making a playoff push and going down, and we're bringing practice squad guys off again to try to kick game-winning field goals.
Well, if that's the case, and they brought Cade York with that kind of foresight, that's just another, man, Andrew Berry's an awesome GM, being that forward thinker, knowing that these rules were going to be put in place, or if these, I think at that time they hadn't been agreed on yet, but understanding that if this passes, this is the statistical analysis of, like you said, the 23% tackle rate for those kickers. And yeah, I don't want to see Dustin Hopkins trying to make a tackle. I want him to kick and just stand there, just walk slowly, gingerly off to the sideline.
Yeah, absolutely.
Justin,
I have to go. Go ahead. You guys take over. I have to go pick up my child now.
All right, Daddy-O. You go. You have a good weekend too, buddy.
Have a good Father's Day, dude.
Yeah, happy Father's Day.
I turned as old as Josh on Monday too, so this is a depressing weekend for me.
Yeah, they smack that mid-30 right head on, man. It's fun.
It kind of sucks that we lost the Scottish Hammer because he had that rugby background, did he not? After his kickoffs.
Yeah.
Or you want? I remember back in the day, if any of you guys remember, there was the Bennett kid. and he was out of the Aussie rules too. He kicked for the Chargers maybe, or I can't remember what team, but you want kind of a thumper as your kicker now, you know?
Yeah, he had a little trouble catching those snaps. But let's get Pastor Rob in here. What's going on, man?
That's one good thing. I was want to talk about NFL development. So I come from Scotland, so I follow a football team, and we develop players, and it takes a long time to develop to come in. So going back to Cade, I'm a big exponent of the fact that I think kickers take longer than a season or an tournament NFL kicker, and the NFL protect these guys so that they're not thrown away, and we develop them over a longer period of time. They should be able to be stashed away somewhere, like offensive linemen or interior defensive linemen. These guys are they're not like they come into the league. There is guys that do that, but they most don't come into the league and become grade-A NFL starters from day one. They take a bit of time. It's usually 2, maybe 3 years until they get their feet under them and able to. What's your thoughts on the way that the NFL doesn't? It's very disposable. Every year, it's like, well, throw that player away and let's move on to the next guy, and it's like we only accept the guys that are able to come in and start on, and the guys that don't do that kind of get thrown to the side and very, very disposable. I'll leave you with that.
Yeah, I know you are Cade York's biggest fan, and we talked about whenever the Browns brought him back and they signed him back to the team with a futures contract. It was like, hey, cool. I'm glad they were able to get him and recoup him, bring him back. Maybe we were able to get him back onto the practice squad this year. I think, me personally, the Browns were just in a position last year where it was like, going into the season, we had the roster, we're in a win now window, and we cannot be losing close games because the kicker can't make his kick. So Andrew Berry made a hard decision, cut him, traded for Dustin Hopkins, and it was a huge successful move. But we've talked plenty of times about kickers the Browns have cut way too early, and they go on to have successful careers for other teams, and then they're beating us 2-3 years down the road in games. It's like, damn, we used to have that guy, but he wasn't very good for us, but now he is. So I think it's cool that we were able to get Cade York back. I just don't think we were not going to be successful with him last year. But you guys, what do you think?
Go ahead.
It's a cutthroat business, man, especially at that position. There's
only one.
Your job is to kick field goals. I thought it was we interviewed Matt, and he had brought that up, just how competitive it is and how cutthroat of a business it can be. I'm with you though, Josh. I do think it's cool that we were able to get Cade York back on the roster. But with the NFL, there's money to be made, and you get paid pretty decently, especially if you establish yourself as a really good kicker. But it's cutthroat. They will move on from you. And agreed, there's been tons of guys, Gonzalez, that we've cut, and 2 years later they're Pro Bowl kicker. It's part of the deal, but it's a results business.
That's so true.
Yeah, with the kicker, the backup quarterbacks, and even your young back end 90, the NFL's got to figure out some way to farm these kids down and get them playing time, because ultimately what they do is that the back end roster, they don't do much. It's really just for the starters, most of the reps. So if you can get these guys, NFL that is, in some kind of manner with the UFL or even the CFL, and just get these guys playing, maybe you'll ultimately develop a better players in a even better league. I don't know if you can get better than it is, but you guys kind of know what I mean, right? Get these guys in situations where they can get that experience, and sitting on the bench and kicking in training camps is not going to cut it for a lot of them.